Welcome, everybody. I hope you like that music. We'll just wait for some people to roll in for a second. How are you doing, Lori? Hope you're having a good day so far. Just gonna have a little, as I get this thing going, I'm gonna share my screen. So tonight, I'm so super happy right now because I just came back from a beautiful cloudy walk at the beach. Well, not just, but about a half an hour ago. And you know, any day is a good day on the beach, even when it's cloudy. And I just had such peace and such centeringness, and I felt grounded, and it was like I just felt really good, and I felt very positive. So I really I want to spread this energy to everybody. I want to send this energy out to you all and to love you all. Tonight is day 4, secret number 4, called the anti-nutrients that sabotage. And I'm going to get a little more into nutrition tonight. And you might actually be a little bit surprised about some of the things that I'm going to talk about tonight, because it's sort of unconventional. It's not something that you would normally hear about nutrition. So hopefully more people will join in and jump into the Zoom. And those of you in the group, please join in the Zoom room for me so I can see you, I can hear you, and then I can work with you in terms of laser coaching, and we can get some dialogue going. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. So give me a second. Okay, hold on one second, and I'm going to start recording. Okay, so welcome everybody. So again, we're doing awesome. I'm so super psyched. And I'm going to skip this again. For those of you who don't know me well, I'm an executive health and mindset coach. I'm in the middle of writing a book called 60 in Stilettos, 6 Secrets to Owning Your Best Health in Midlife. And basically, I have been focusing on food as medicine, food and mood, food addictions, natural weight loss up to 100 pounds over the last 10 years. And what I love about the work that I do is really it's a mindset job. And I know that through the years of coaching that I've done with people who are very, very busy business owners and professionals and leaders in business, that, you know, your health often takes a back seat. And that's what this entire training is about, is really starting with mindset. Hey, Kim, how are you? Glad you could join. So some updates to the Secrets to Unleash Her Rebel training this week. So today we're at the anti-nutrients that sabotage, and we had already 3 days of incredible trainings of really evaluating our inner critic and evaluating the science why we don't lose the weight permanently, in terms of stress, in terms of not being able to counterbalance our cortisol and high pro-inflammatory responses. So this week, so tonight, anti-nutrients, Thursday, secret to loving yourself again. And on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I have these amazing bonus trainings. On Friday, I have Junie Moon Schreiber. She is just incredible. She calls herself a love coach. And we met about a year ago. And ever since we met, we just really fell in love with each other, just connected. And she also has an incredible story about her weight loss journey. So she's going to be sharing that with us on Friday. So she's going to talk about love and relationships, but what it means from a shame standpoint and the shadow side of love. So it's going to be really incredible. So she's going to have a little teaching there on Friday. On Saturday, I have Jen Cormier. She is a grief and movement coach, and she's going to be doing intuitive mind body empowerment. So we're going to get up off our seats and actually move our bodies and release that negativity, release some of that energy, those rocks that we've been carrying on our backs. And on Sunday, we're going to end with a special guest training with a self-love power circle, Shashila Ramachandran, who is an intuitive sound healer. So she has a beautiful sensibility and intuition. And she's going to lead us in meditation and close out the rest of the week. So I am super psyched. You guys are in store for so much more. And you think that this was, just I want to provide as much value, and I want to provide as much, as much information and tools and exercises for you to actually take this and really be immersed in it and really use it. And so this is going to be a really incredible week. So please continue to join me. She is Revel. She's a little bit of heaven with a wild side. And what that means is building our new intuition and knowing what to do with our business and our life and our health is about building the muscle. And we talked about the left brain, right brain activity and how the superhighway is in between. And we have to be able to balance that critical mind and our intuitive mind and our creative, expansive mind. And when we can get into that expansive mind, we could do so much more. So instead of holding your power back you can trust your inner wisdom and act immediately with results. And letting go of attachments. And that's part of what our journey has been this week so far, is really looking at some of our attachments and the things that we do out of habit. And sometimes we do things and we're not even sure why we do it. It becomes this subconscious thing. So we want to get into that subconscious and kind of release those habits. We also talked about emotional frequency and how different feelings and emotions have frequencies and levels of frequencies. If you're at enlightenment at 1,000, but at shame and humiliation lands at 20, and fear and anxiety lives with you on a day-to-day basis, that's 100. So if fear and anxiety is living with you the majority of your day, like, where's your frequency? So this is something that is a daily habit and something that we have to be mindful of and to really tune into. And we also talked about emotional hunger versus physical hunger. And that is really a super key element to really become tuned into. So when emotional hunger shows up, we become fixated. Remember Erlene last night, she was having coffee at 10 o'clock at night. And she's like, I'm like, why are you having coffee at 10 o'clock at night? She became fixated on the food and the taste. And that was joy. That was something for her. That was some kind of satisfaction for her. And so when we become fixated on those kinds of foods, that's emotional hunger. Whereas physical hunger is actually much more less extreme, and it's more gradual. And then, of course, we talked about the direct link between our fight or flight system, right? And our protecting and scarcity system that we are automatically designed to respond with, and how that affects our physiology. has a direct correlation. So to be able to counterbalance and get back into an anti-inflammatory response is really where we want to go. It's about constant regulation. And here's the sweet spot. Really want to encourage you over this week and beyond that, you know, take a moment to yourself and think, am I making these decisions on our critical thinking brain? You know, am I thinking more expansively in my decision making? Is it more imaginative? Is it more expansive instead of critical thinking brain? The critical thinking brain gets into the inner critic and starts telling us and judging us about what we aren't doing or what we're not, you know, we're not good enough or we're not doing enough. So and that's part of old programming. So the goal is, let's exercise that right brain. And then we talked about yesterday who and what she wants. Coco Chanel says, who am I being and what do I really want? And that is the big crux of the why. Like, who am I being and what do I want? Who am I being right now today? And what does that look like? And when we have clarity, when we can kind of distinguish, you know, that we are, you know, making most of our decisions with our critical mind versus our intuitive mind, our expansive mind, then we can kind of clearly, we put those glasses on, we can see, wow, we're making these decisions based on blah, 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 and all these old programming dialogue in our mind. So we have the opportunity to reinvent who we are and what we want. And right now in midlife, this is the best next 20 years of your life. So again, digging deeper and discovering yourself and releasing those self-instituted obstacles is so important to actually reclaiming your health. And you start doing things differently. Your choices become different. And we cannot become what we need to be by remaining what we are. So make a decision now. Not that's not who I am, but this is who I will am. I am, right, the whole I am. So again, my philosophy and all of my coaching works is built on three pillars of optimal vitality: nourishment, both on and off the plate, working on habits, and really starting with mindset, the mindset piece, and really the mindfulness piece. And without all these three pillars, we really can't have permanent weight loss. We really can't have permanent health turnaround. And we stop ourselves from accomplishing more. So I'm not going to get into that. Let's get into secret number 3. Well, no, this is not, I have the wrong slide. We're in secret number 4, but I'm talking about anti-nutrients that sabotage. Just wanted to quickly bring this up. The threshold for phenomenon, why do we actually get sick? Okay, so on the bottom here on the x-axis, a healthy individual is on the left and a chronically sick person is on the right, right? And our health reserves are, you know, are correlated with our level of health. So if we are eating a standard American diet with a lot of processed foods and toxins, we're exposed to environmental toxins, we're exposed to life stress, and we allow it to take over our lives. And then on top of that, there may be some illnesses that come into play in midlife, or, you know, insulin resistance, or chronic infection. And then we have the coronavirus or whatever it might be that comes along that takes us down. And so what happens is you have all of these health reserves kind of minimized. Your space and threshold for actually defending, you know, your health and your immunity becomes less and less and less. So believe it or not, whether you're 40 years old, you're 50 years old, you're 60, 70, 80, this really matters because you want to have as much in your health reserves as possible to defend and to protect yourself. So insulin resistance, I don't know if you are familiar with this term, but insulin resistance is, you know, basically when you are carrying extraneous body fat for a significant long time and you've been eating in a manner where you've had elevated blood sugar, your body is taught to not respond to your insulin, which is secreted from your pancreas. So, what it is teaching your body to do is continuing to store fat and not to listen to your insulin. Your insulin is your friend because basically it brings down your blood sugar and gives your body a chance to utilize that nutrition for energy. And the insulin response is, when we have high blood sugar after we eat, our pancreas actually releases insulin. And it can either be it's turned into glucagon and glucose, and it turns into your liver. And basically, it raises your blood sugar. So this is a cycle. So if you are eating all day long and you're snacking all day long, you're essentially triggering your insulin response all day long. And what happens is insulin gets tired. And then you throw stress and cortisol on top of that. And that's just a recipe for your body to store more fat. And we talked about emotional appetite and hunger, emotional hunger versus physical hunger. Well, what happens when you are on a high sugar diet for a long time or a high carbohydrate diet for a long time? What happens is your leptin hormone, which signals to our brain that we are full, actually gets tired. It stops working well, it stops working efficiently. And also, our ghrelin hormone, which is our hormone that tells us that we're hungry, increases. So basically, we're constantly feeling hungry, and our hormone that's supposed to kind of slow things down basically is not functioning in the way that we need to. So, really, our bodies are meant for homeostasis. And we talked a lot about that yesterday in terms of habits and ways of nourishing your parasympathetic system and getting back into balance. And so, just like homeostasis in terms of getting back to balance with our stress, our glucose response can get back to balance, but it's about what you feed it. And food is data. And food is data. So if you are in the group, please chat your comments or questions and let me know that you have questions so that I know that I can, you know, um, answer those questions. All right. So food is data and food is medicine. Okay. So we don't want to be on the left side of the medicine cabinet here and relying on pills and the conventional emergency healthcare system to really heal us. Really, food comes, in various forms, but as closest to the source is really where we want to be. It is our medicine. And what we eat actually influences our genes. So epigenetic studies tell us that what we eat actually can affect our gut flora in the first 20 days of life when a baby's when a baby is born, and it can continue to affect our gut health. And results show that type 2 diabetes in humans is directly correlated with our gut health. So part of this is our gut health in terms of our microbiome is super important, but it's also about balancing all those hormones that we have going on. And food affects your mood. Food that you eat can actually show up as sensitivities and allergies. It could show up as digestive imbalances. It could show up in toxicity in your body, and it can actually make you sick, you know? So, and also hormonal balances, like we talked about just now, but it can actually work against you. It can be poison, or it could be your friend. And so I'm going to get into a little bit more of that. But 85% of our serotonin, our feel good, happy hormones, are actually built in our gut. So if you are crowding it in with a lot of toxic chemicals and polluted foods, whether it be from the ground, from a garden or not, or from a factory or not, if it's interfering with your gut, it's interfering with your mood. And so I ask you, what's on your plate? I want you to take a draw, like a piece of paper, and draw a circle. And what is typically on your plate? and I want you to think about what is typically on your plate. You have your protein, you have your macros, like, how much of that is coming from a whole food source? How much of it is real, doesn't come in a wrapper box, cellophane, how much of it is as closest to the source as possible? I want you to really think about that. Draw your plate. How much of it is real, oops, doesn't come in a wrapper? I'm playing it on my iPhone so I can see if there's any comments that come up. So we know that sugar is directly linked to obesity, hypertension, high blood pressure, depression, headaches, fatigue, nervous tension. Nervous tension. There's like tons of studies about sugar and additives that actually can, relate to nervousness and anxiety. And you know what? Refined sugar has no nutritional value. It's zero vitamins, zero minerals, zero enzymes, and zero fiber. It is poison. And you know what? It's in our food system. It's infiltrated in our food system. So whether you think you're having a healthy yogurt or not, or you think you're having a healthy spaghetti sauce or a healthy Nutri-Grain bar, um, all of these foods have hidden sugars in it. And it does add up. And I'm going to show you why. So all of these things are promoted and advertised as healthy foods. But what the formula is 4 grams equal 1 teaspoon of sugar. All right. So what this is like adding 1 teaspoon of sugar. That Yoplait yogurt is 26 grams of sugar. That's more than 6 teaspoons of sugar in that little cup. That's like pouring, that's like pouring lighter fluid on a flame to your body. So if you have aches and pains, it will amplify those aches and pains. If you have body fat, it will amplify your body fat. Okay, so let's look at this. So this person thinks they're being fairly healthy, right? They wake up in the morning and they have a cup of Honey Nut Cheerios, right? Well, who has 1 cup of Honey Nut Cheerios? Like, if you're gonna eat Honey Nut Cheerios, you might as well have 2 cups. My God, like most Americans will have 2 cups or more, maybe 2.5. But say you just had 1 cup, that's 2.5 teaspoons of sugar. And then this person on the way to work stops at Starbucks and picks up a Frappuccino. That Frappuccino is 17 teaspoons of sugar. At lunch, they feel like they're being healthy, so they're ordering that spinach salad with the cranberries, right? And that's another teaspoon of sugar. And they're going to be healthy. Have an iced tea instead of a Coca-Cola. So what does that look like? That's another 9 teaspoons of sugar. And then, oh, a Larabar, that's super healthy. That's another 6 teaspoons. And then a healthy dinner, roasted chicken with half a sweet potato is not so bad, 1 teaspoon. And then, of course, their best friend, Ben and Jerry, at the end of the night. That's a 6 teaspoons. That's only half. Okay, so how many of you have had emotional eatings where you're actually like down in the tub and into the pint to the bottom of the pint? Okay. um that I'm sure some of you can relate to that. But the total sugar for one day, this seemingly reasonable diet is 42.5 teaspoons of sugar. Do you know what the American Heart Association recommends? American Heart Association recommends added sugars, hidden or added sugars, to be only 6 teaspoons a day for women and 9 for men. So this person who you think that is not being horrible is having 42.5 teaspoons of sugar. And without that frappuccino, it's still 25 teaspoons of sugar. That is really incredible, because I know that a lot of people are eating much more than this. There's much more in your total caloric intake. And it's not about calories, but it's about what you are actually consuming. And this is a slow trickle that ends up being a big force, okay? Force to be reckoned with. And so sugar amplifies our symptoms. It interferes with our hormones. It actually depletes all your vitamins and minerals. So if you're spending $100 a month on vitamins and minerals and you think you're doing yourself some good, but you're eating in a manner which actually doesn't help you, then you might as well throw those vitamins away because your diet is not supporting your effort. Now I'm going to talk about the environment. So we know toxins come from many different places. It comes from the air, it comes from water, it comes from our food, it comes from chemicals in our environment, including pesticides and fumes. And it also comes from our beauty products. And in terms of, our beauty skincare product, the things that we put on our body, deodorants or hair things, shampoos even. And I know years ago when I got done with like the Pantene hair shampoo years ago, where everybody had used Pantene, um, you know, I the smell of that stuff is so toxic now because it's like really, really strong, the chemicals that are in that. So I can't go back to that. And it's super inflaming because what we put on our skin and what we breathe actually contributes directly to Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, insomnia, heart disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, all of these things. And you know this. And here's another piece of information. Some of you, um, we are kind of like, this is, sorry, the picture's a little bit blurry, but some of this is not entirely our fault. Our agricultural system actually, there's a lot of big agribusiness that has motivations to produce chemically processed foods in our food system. And so if you think about your grocery aisle and how much lives in the middle of your grocery aisle, in the middle of the aisles, what's in there, right? You got your canned soups, you got your box soups, you have your cookies and crackers, you have a whole cereal aisle. And believe it or not, I used to be in the food business. Like the cereal aisle actually has shrunk with the whole like healthy food revolution. It has shrunk. And those big companies like General Mills and Crafts, they all lost tons of market share because people started waking up to the fact that that's not real food, but it still exists. And most Americans are still living in that aisle. So, also, when you think about it, our agricultural system, we feed the world. We feed the world. We feed the world with processed food products, with wheat and barley, with corn, with soybean products, with cotton, with animal feeds. We feed the world from the US with all of this agriculture. You know what this means? That they need to produce a whole hell of a lot of crops, incredible amount of crops to feed the world. And what else does that mean? That means they can't risk those crops going down in a season. They cannot risk their cornfields or their soy fields to be decimated by pests. So what are they doing? They are spraying the hell out of them. And it is being sprayed. Not only are we getting our produce from around the world coming in, so we have unseasoned kind of like bananas coming in from like South America, and they're and what they do actually is, as they're actually importing some of those fruits and vegetables from other countries, they're spraying it, they're picking it before it's even ripe and spraying it with ripening agents. This is the fact. This is a fact. So, while we have all of these things available to us in the mainstream grocery store, this is what the reality is behind the scenes that we don't consciously actually think about. And I just want you to realize that this is a big business, and in order to be able to have that food, that beautiful green leafy whatever, that it took a lot to get there. It took a lot to get there. So, my whole push has been really eating as closest to the source as possible. And when you're at the grocery store, even your eggs have been laid by the chickens. Probably, it's come out of those chickens probably 2 or 3, maybe even a month ago. So eating as close to the source, being in connection with our farmers, the local small farmers, actually is really one of the best ways to go. And we're coming upon spring season, or even growing your own food. And so we know that, there's tons of food certifications out there: USDA organic, non-GMO, certified humane, da, 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 gluten-free, certified gluten-free, all of these are wonderful, but basically it's still a choice. This is going to be produced and put into the store shelves, or into even in the produce aisles. It's coming from somewhere. And so I ask you to question, where is your food coming from? Where is your food coming from? The International Federation of Produce Standards. If you get an apple that has a digit that starts with a 9, that is actually organic. If you get a conventional apple that starts with a 4, so even if it may be living, they may label it organic or not organic, you want to look at the little sticker on there and see what the real actual International Federation of Produce Standards have labeled it as. And a 5-digit code starts with 8, which means it is genetically modified. And that's kind of creeping into the stores more and more and more these days. So the 8 code means it's genetically modified. It's really been seeded and created in a lab and then produced. So you actually don't know what it's doing. You don't know what it's kind of a man-made food. So food manufacturing, let's look at this. So, a glass of Florida's natural orange juice has almost 30 grams of sugar in 1 cup. Orange juice is not a health food. Orange juice is pure sugar. And someone says, well, what about fresh squeezed? Right? Well, it's the same thing. You know how many oranges it takes to squeeze into a 8-ounce cup? That's probably like 2 or 3 oranges. That's a lot of sugar. That's still 30 grams of sugar in fructose, which is sugar. So a lot of foods these days are advertised as fortified foods. And this is just like non-food. It's just not, because it's processed. And is really milk good for your body? Does milk do a body good? This is such a myth. And, I think, the nutrition industry is coming up to speed with that, and more information is going out into the public. But there are still many, many, many thousands, billions of people out there thinking that milk is actually really good for you. But I wanted, this is interesting, right? There's a lot of studies out there that it isn't calcium protective, that it actually increases the risk of fractures by 50%, and emphasizes that the bone fracture rate tends to be lower in countries that don't consume milk. So, and increases the male risk of developing prostate cancer. So you think of little kids these days, and they're being fed, regular cow milk. And why is regular cow milk so bad, right? Well, basically, it's been extracted. Look at this. Like, this is what it takes to actually process a gallon of milk, of dairy pure. It goes through hundreds and hundreds of steps to pasteurize from raw milk format, going through all these processes in terms of refining and extracting all the nutrients that actually, from a dairy cow in a raw form, have enzymes in it, it has B vitamins in it, it has all these things that are nutrients. But what our food manufacturing system has brought to us into our store shelves today is a highly pasteurized, highly processed milk. And if you are drinking low fat, if you are having any dairy at all today, if you're eating low fat, no fat, skim milk, that's worse. It goes through 10 more steps of pasteurization and processing. And really what it ends up being is they add other things like added sugars to that milk. So That is the only benefit, maybe the only benefit is having some protein in milk. And but you lose so many nutrients, and basically permanent weight loss is really about flooding our body with as much nutrition as possible. So, and then let's look at where is gluten hiding, and why is gluten so bad? Gluten is so bad because basically it is a binder. It's produced in China, and it's actually a food additive that it comes in vats and bags. And the food companies actually mix it into their food so that, first of all, the food is stable and doesn't fall apart in your packages. So baked beans, blue cheese crumbles, breading, in some of the chicken broths and bouillons, of course, in candy and cereals. It's in some of your ice cream, your imitation foods, your marinades and your sauces and your puddings and thickeners and all these other things that are highly, highly processed, and that's convenient based. So basically, these are very um, um, these are hidden, and we don't realize that it's in our food. So what this does is it actually binds down our fine hairs along our digestive tract, and basically we start being unable to pass through nutrition through our digestive tract. And so if you are constantly having gluten for an extended period of time, it actually is affecting your level of digestion and your nutrient absorption. And, this has continued on because the food manufacturing industry has taken over our food store shelves. Now, there has been a healthy food revolution on the counter front, like with kombucha and other healthy kind of foods, but there's still all of this conventional mainstream stuff that's been in packages and that are hidden, that we really it actually is an anti-nutrient. It's poisonous for us, especially over a long period of time. Level of sickness and illness and chronic disease has increased significantly over the last 50, 20 years. So Kim said, I tried to move to black coffee and I just can't do it. Any suggestions? I do the high fat lactose free. So high fat is good, but the lactose free, that is a dairy. If you are you're having lactose free milk, then there's something about that lactic acid that is affecting you. So basically, maybe dairy actually is not working with your system. But you said I've tried nut milks, but they feel like dirty water. They feel like dirty water. Um, and so you basically have the lactose free high fat milk into your coffee. Um, I was just told it's better not because milk bothers me. Okay, okay. So it's not better. Again, you saw that whole system of milk and the processing. To be lactose free is actually removing more. It's extracting more. So it's not in its original and total enzyme form that actually should be nutritious for us. Um, and nut milks, maybe you haven't tried the right nut milks. Some nut milks can be delicious, and it may be, it may require a little, I would say just do heavy cream. If you're not lactose intolerant and basically you don't have a dairy allergy, just do heavy cream, because you know what? There's zero sugar in heavy cream. Like just a little drip of it, that's all you need. And there's no sugar in that. And so that's a high fat, which is good for your brain. And as long as you don't have any dairy allergies or significant amounts of inflammation going on in your joints, yay, I suggest for people who work with me who have extra pounds of fat, that if they're achy, they have arthritis, or they have any kind of inflammation going on, to remove dairy completely. No cheese, no milk, no dairy products for at least 6 weeks. And you wouldn't believe how, not only that their puffiness goes down, they feel so much better. and even just like clarity of mind. You have brain fog from this stuff. It's like amazing. So once in a while, taking a break from dairy can actually be really good for your liver and to just kind of detox. So food is medicine. And so I want to just also mention there is an environmental working group in the U.S. and I apologize, this is a little bit outdated, but pretty much is the same thing. But when you buy produce at the grocery store, there is a thing called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. And you can be choosy. And the point of this slide is just not to tell you like which produce to buy that's organic versus which or non-organic foods to buy. But the point of the slide is really just to suggest that you can be really choosy. And that little choosiness on a day-to-day basis, even your coffee, okay? If you're not drinking organic coffee, coffee plantations and production is heavily sprayed. They're very insect attractors in coffee plantations. They're mostly in very warmer climates. So think about that. Like those trees are heavily sprayed. If you are drinking non-organic coffee on a day-to-day basis, you are drinking pollution. And believe it or not, that affects your gut lining. So the point of this is like what's really dirty where you're getting your food from and what's really clean, where is it coming from, knowing, asking your grocery store, asking your farmer, where is it coming from, where is it produced from. So the Dirty Dozen, you want to buy these kinds of things more organic, so like apples. Most like fruit bearing trees are sprayed because in the summertime in the warmer climates they attract bugs because they're sweet. And so most fruits like apples, peaches, nectarines, strawberries, those are all you should buy organic. Most berries you should buy organic. If you're getting blueberries from like Chile and South America and it's not organic, and you clean those, like one way to clean non-organic, or if that's all you have, is literally soak them in a solution of just white vinegar and water and soak them for a little bit. And you wouldn't believe the amount of sediment that actually comes off the berries. But you want to wash your foods really well because this stuff is pollution for your body and it affects your gut and it affects how we feel. It really does. And in our midlife, we're kind of like we're on the aging curve, right? So we're continuing to oxidize. The Clean 15 are mostly fruits and vegetables that have thicker coverings, okay? So the more fragile coverings, the sweeter kind of foods are often sprayed. So you want to do organic, but those Clean 15 products are less pesticide, have less pesticide residue on it because either it's got a chemical called sulforaphane, so like broccoli or asparagus or cabbage or cauliflower, those emit this chemical called sulforaphane. And sulforaphane actually is a super high antioxidant. It's great for cancer patients, people, who have difficulty really moving their liver. So like cabbage products, cruciferous plants actually emit that. And so there's less bugs that attack those plants versus some of the other plants. Or with the fruits and produce that actually have coverings or thicker skins. That's really what you want to try to gravitate towards. So we can be choosy with our food. And really, it's about eating as closest to the source as possible. What you see here is not really wrappers, except the yogi tea. Like you don't really see wrappers, boxes, cellophane. It's about eating as closest to the source. And I know that we're all busy and we do some takeout every once in a while, you know. Um, I rarely do takeout because I live in a rural place, but I still rarely do takeout even when I was living in busier cities. I make my own bone broth year round, actually, even in the summers, and always have that stocked in my freezer. And it's so simple and it costs pennies. I make my own fermented sauerkrauts and fermented foods, and that is like super probiotic food. You can't get that in a probiotic pill. And you know what? It costs pennies. I save my clients hundreds of dollars a month in their grocery, like in their takeout bills, because I teach them how to do very simple things. And fermentation is a really important thing. But, you know, natural plants that are grown locally in season are actually in season with you. It's in flow with you. And in traditional Chinese medicine, you know, I know the air fryers, and this is a little bit of a change of subject, but like I know the air fryers are really hot right now, and everybody's like, oh my God, you can cook something in like 10 minutes, you know, right? This is like the latest fad, right? I'm not a fan of those, and let me tell you why. Because philosophically around food in ancestral times have been cooked and heated with fire, with flame, and there's an energy associated with fire and flame. And yesterday I had talked about the sensations of food in our environment, what our food looks like, what it smells like, where it's placed in on our kitchen table. Is it full of mess, clutter, or is it clean? Are you looking at a calm, serene environment? The entire experience of eating actually affects your digestion. And so eating as close as to the source is really important. But the electronic like appliances that help you quickly heat things up, you know, that's again a convenience thing. And I understand it helps, right? But if you can, for the majority of your food, actually cook on a flame, that is the best way because it actually gives you chi, gives you energy. It gives you natural energy and fire. Think about that. How much chi are you going to get from an electric stove? You know, it's kind of like it kind of percolates and it kind of like the steady heat, right? When you look at it, you think of turning on a flame, it's like it glows and it's big and it's got energy to it. So whereas an electric stove or electric device, you're really kind of just heating it up over time and you start losing nutrients, you know? And even though it's fast, even though it's very convenient, that's just something to keep in mind. I'm not saying this is like you have to do this, but just just thinking about where our food comes from, how we cook our food, how we chew our food. You know, we talked about that last night about habits of chewing our food. Are we eating in front of the TV, in front of the computer? Are we actually taking a break 20 minutes? Our digestion, our bodies and how we're chewing our food and how we're eating our food, our brain is listening to that. And that translates to nervous disorder. But if you could take your breaks and your lunch breaks and your dinner breaks in a peaceful and serene environment, it can actually improve your mood. So this was pretty much all I had for tonight. Does anybody have questions? Does anybody have questions? In the Facebook group, if you have questions, you're tuning in, please chat in your questions. The last few days, I talked about your magic carpet and the imagination and using your right side of the brain. Instead of going to your go to sources that you normally go to, I encourage you to expand your thought and thinking of how you can try something new this week. And maybe it's in how you prepare your food, maybe it's in how thinking about like the things that you have in your pantry, in your kitchen, and say, wow, where is this really from? And how is this serving me? Because our food is our medicine and our food actually affects our mood. It actually affects how we feel. It can actually make us feel calm when we are nourished, when we are deeply nutritionally nourished. So, again, the answers are within. And ladies, I want you to say this to yourself or out loud. I am currently seeing a glimpse of the woman I'm meant to be, and she is stunning. I am currently seeing a glimpse of the woman I'm meant to be, and she is stunning. And I want you to envision yourself in your mirror. Envision that little girl on the beach that was free and safe and running towards the ocean with the sun. She knows who she is. She's in balance with her polarity, and she's in flow with her feminine more than ever, yet still honoring her masculine. And she is with fire. She's in line. She is water with fire, which creates luscious steam heat. And she gracefully laughs at the nuances of being human, but still knows that there's more work to be done. She is surrendered, allowing for space in her life to unfold however it will. She is filled with gratitude for all lessons, and she is committed to her journey. So I just, these words, I want you to live these words. It's about, living with balance of our polarities, our left brain critical mind, as well as our intuitive mind, and taking that magic carpet into where do we want to be? Who do we want to be? Who am I? And who you want to be in the future, that is where you are right now. If you are the CEO of your life, if your business, of your destiny, if whatever higher purpose that you have, that's who you are right now, not something of the past. And the more you can lean into that idea of who you want to be, your life starts translating into different choices. So I hope this was helpful. I kind of sped through. I know a lot of this was reminders. And what I would recommend, everybody's nutrition is different. Where you are right now in terms of your health is different. Your starting point is different than anybody else in the room. So if you would like to meet one on one with me, I do a whole health intake that's complimentary. And I spend time with you, and I spend time before we even meet looking at all your health factors, your stress factors, and help you break it down and give you some next steps. So, just wanted to just mention, the one quote my client said, my rebound in confidence and self-acceptance or love. I honestly didn't consider the benefit of the aspects of the program that weren't explicitly and obviously related to weight loss. I truly feel happier and more open to what the world has in store for me more than I have in years. So this can be you. This can be you. And it's an inside out job, but when you work with me, it's really working on your nutrition mechanics and starting step by step by step. And every week you start making changes. So over this week, today was the nutrition lesson. I know some of it was, a review, but I just want to leave you with this, that you are in control of your destiny and the choices that you make. And just think about where your food comes from. That's all. And if you want specific guidance, please reach out to me. I'm happy to help you and just point you in the right direction. So tomorrow is day 5, secret 5, the secret to loving yourself. And again, we have 3 bonus days in a row that is going to be experiential. I really designed this for the rebel in her to really rebel against the self-instituted obstacles. So over this weekend, join me in this experience and really be able to release, really be able to just shake it out and really get all centered, get in tune with yourself. I know that this is a lot of information all at once, and I hope that you're finding it to be valuable. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. And I'm so grateful that you were able to join me tonight. And I will see you tomorrow night for Secret to Loving Yourself again. And I'm going to have an exercise that we're going to go over tomorrow night. So it's going to be a little bit more interactive. All right. I hope that was helpful, guys. Thank you so much. And I'll see you tomorrow night. See you tomorrow night. Bye.